It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, the Prime Minister backs Angela Rayner amid growing calls for her to resign over her tax affairs. In an exclusive interview with our Electoral Dysfunction podcast, the Deputy Prime Minister admitted she didn't pay the right amount of stamp duty on her second home. She says she got incorrect advice and wants to stay in her job, despite thinking about stepping down.
Well, I made a mistake based upon the advice that I relied upon, that I received at the time, and a leading expert has now said that advice was wrong.
Coming up, we'll explain the error and we'll take a look at what it might mean for Angela Rayner's position in government. Also ahead tonight, police officers placed in an impossible position. That the verdict of the Met Police Commissioner today after Father Ted writer Graham Linehan was arrested over social media posts about trans people. Sir Mark Rowley says ambiguity in the law means that police have to act on toxic culture wars. Plus, I speak to Sir Chris Hoy and my former colleague Dermot Nuneaton. He says Sir Chris offered him a mental lifeline when he was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer. And he'll be joining him on his charity bike ride this weekend. Plus, in the studio, the Indian adventurer whose round-the-world trip was brought to a halt after his motorbike was stolen in Nottingham. Well, that's come and much more on the UK Tonight. But we start tonight with breaking news from Lisbon, where at least 3 people have been killed in a crash on the city's funicular railway. Around 20 people have reportedly been injured in this derailment, which happened on the iconic Gloria funicular, a really busy, popular tourist attraction in the city. Emergency services are currently on the scene. We can go straight to our Europe correspondent for the latest, Siobhan Robbins. Siobhan, what more do we know at this stage?
Well, terrible reports coming from Lisbon this evening. It seems this Gloria funicular, which is one of 3 of these old-style cable cars that run in Lisbon, one of the cars appears to have derailed just after 6 o'clock this evening. Now, they can carry around 40 people, and images from the scene show that the bottom car is undamaged, but the top car seems to have completely come off the rails. It's on its side. It's really badly damaged, and pictures from the scene show emergency services until just a few minutes ago were continuing to pull people out of that car wreckage. Now, we've been told by the emergency services that at least 3 people have died, that 20 people at the moment are believed to have been injured. 3 of them are said to be in a grave condition. But this cable car runs from the bottom, the downtown of Lisbon, up to the Barrio Alto, which is a really vibrant area of nightlife. And it's used both by tourists and also by commuters who are coming up and down from work. So we know that if it happened around 6, it could have been full of commuters or tourists. We don't know the nationalities of the people who have been caught up in this, but the President of Portugal has sent his condolences, and emergency services are still on the scene.
Siobhan, thank you. Siobhan Robbins with the latest on the situation in Lisbon. More as we get it here on Sky News throughout the course of the evening. So Keir Starmer said he was proud to sit next to his deputy, Angela Rayner, in the House of Commons today. This is as she faces growing calls to resign over her tax affairs. Speaking to our political editor, Beth Rigby, the Deputy Prime Minister admitted underpaying stamp duty when buying a flat on the South Coast back in May. In an exclusive interview for the Electoral Dysfunction podcast, Ms Rayner said she had received inaccurate legal advice but wants to stay in her post. Beth Rigby has this report.
Good morning, Minister. Are you setting a good example?
Angela Rayner in Downing Street yesterday, stepping into the new political term, only to find herself today now fighting for her political life. The Deputy Prime Minister told Sky News she underpaid stamp duty on her £800,000 seaside flat and has referred herself to the Prime Minister's ethics advisor.
I made a mistake based upon the advice that I relied upon, that I received at the time, and a leading expert has now said that advice was wrong. I'm rectifying it at the earliest opportunity. People make mistakes, but I conducted myself in trying to do the right thing, and I hope that people can see that.
In May, the Deputy Prime Minister bought a flat in Hove, but she only paid £30,000 in stamp duty when she should have paid £70,000 on this property because it was in effect deemed her second home. That's all because of this place, her family home in Greater Manchester that she shares with her disabled son and ex-husband. This home is in a trust for her teenage son to provide for him in later life. So when lawyers advised her she only needed to pay standard stamp duty on her Hove flat, well, she took that advice. That turned out to be wrong, and today the Deputy Prime Minister was forced to reveal details of her family life in an effort to clear her name.
I've been in shock, really, because I thought I'd done everything proper, and this trust was not something that I set up. It's not my money. It's not money that I put into the trust. This is to safeguard my son's needs for the future after a very devastating, injury and situation that came about for him. And even just saying that now, I feel that I'm giving away information about my son that is his information. It's not for me to broadcast the challenges that my 17-year-old child has as he's navigating into adulthood.
Ms Rayner now finds herself facing accusations of being a tax dodger, having been very unforgiving of her political opponents in the past.
If this isn't a breach of the ministerial code, surely the code itself is wrong, Mr. Speaker.
Did you think about just packing it in rather than having to do this now?
I spoke to my family about it. I spoke to my ex-husband, who has been an incredibly supportive person.
You presumably have spoken to Keir Starmer about this. Do you have his full backing?
Well, Keir knows the circumstances, and he obviously knows about the challenges that my son has faced.
But her explanation has done little to satisfy her critics who can smell blood.
I remember when the Prime Minister said that tax evasion is a criminal offence and should be treated as all other fraud. If he had a backbone, he would sack her.
But this leader more sympathetic to his rival's predicament.
As a parent of a disabled child, I think we should all reflect on the challenges that she has been through. We all worry about what's going to happen to our children when we've died. And I can see that in what Angela Rayner has said today.
There's no doubt tonight that Angela Rayner is a politician fighting for her political life, and she knows it. Because for all of the explanations around her complicated family life, at the heart of this matter is a Deputy Prime Minister and the Housing Minister who has underpaid on property tax. And this is from a politician calling for big tax rises from the wealthy to fund the economy, and who in the past has been highly critical of those politicians that have also come under fire in this sort of way. So this is politically fraught, it's reputationally extremely damaging for her, and while she's come out fighting, she knows that her political survival is now beyond her control. The PM and Cabinet colleagues have so far rallied around Angela Rayner, but her fate now lies in the hands of the Prime Minister's ethics advisor, who's investigating the affair. Whether she can keep her place at this table, now very much up in the air. Beth Rigby, Sky News, Westminster.
Well, stamp duty was described as a confusing mess by one tax expert today. Angela Rayner saying that she believed on legal advice that she was liable to pay the standard rate, only to find out later that she had additional liabilities. Paul Kelso explains.
Angela Rayner says she got bad tax advice arising from what she calls complicated family circumstances. At the heart of those is a trust set up for one of her sons who has lifelong disabilities following what she calls a deeply personal and distressing incident when he was born prematurely. Now, in 2020, she and the family were living in the family home in Ashton-under-Lyne when her son received a financial award related to that incident, and a trust was established by the court. Angela Rayner and her husband agreed at that time they would transfer in time some of their ownership of the home to the trust. Now, in 2023, the Rayners divorced, but agreed the children would stay in the family home while they rotated in and out to care for them. At that point, some of their interest in the house did indeed pass into the trust. And at the start of this year, Rayner sold her final interest in the home to her son's trust, meaning she no longer had any financial stake in this house or any other. 4 months later, in May, she used that money to put down as a deposit on a new flat in Hove, bought reportedly for £800,000 with a mortgage. At that time, she said she was advised she was liable only for ordinary stamp duty costing around £30,000. But after recent media reports, she took fresh advice from a specialist tax lawyer who told her provisions in the trust meant she was liable for the higher rate, taking the stamp duty owed to £70,000. Now, she hasn't given any details, but if she has rights to live in that family home to look after her son, that might make it her main home for tax purposes. And HMRC's advice on stamp duty is even clearer. Parents are treated as owners of property owned on behalf of under 18s, even if it is held in trust. Now, all of that makes the nature of the advice she received and, crucially, the information she provided central to what happens next.
Did she go to, say, the lawyer who set up the trust and they knew all the facts and they got the law wrong? If they did, it's really not her fault. Did she just ask the conveyancer who was doing the house purchase for her without giving them the background? Well, then it's Ms. Rayner's fault. Did she instruct someone else but not give them full details or not follow their advice? Then it's her fault. So it really depends.
Angela Rayner insists that this was not an attempt to dodge taxes or manipulate the rules. And given her son's circumstances, it's clearly personally difficult, certainly unusual and definitely complex. Now, the advice that counts now is that given by the Stands advisor Sir Laurie Magnus to Sir Keir Starmer.
2 women have been arrested after a Sky News investigation in Nuneaton was disrupted and members of the public subjected to racial abuse. We brought you a report from our Midlands correspondent Shaman Freeman-Powell on Monday night. It was about tensions in the town over asylum seekers. During an interview with a local businessman, 2 women approached them and were heard shouting about rape. Here's our correspondent Ashna Huranag.
Well, these arrests coming following that Sky News interview which was disrupted only a few weeks ago. We had been reporting from there in Nuneaton, reporting on the housing of asylum seekers in the Warwickshire town. And Warwickshire Police releasing a statement today confirming that earlier today we arrested 2 women, they say, from Nuneaton as part of an investigation into an interaction between several members of the public that has been widely shared on social media and in the news. The footage saw members of the public subjected to racial abuse, with one reportedly being pushed. A 30-year-old woman from Nuneaton has been arrested on suspicion of a public order offence. A second woman, they go on to say, from Nuneaton, aged 43, has been arrested on suspicion of a public order offence and of racially aggravated common assault. They say inquiries are ongoing. So both women there, 2 women involved, have been arrested on suspicion of a public order offence after that interaction on Sky News went viral.
Well, let's just tell you about a special programme we've got coming up a week tonight here on Sky News. Trevor Phillips will be hosting a debate on the migration crisis, and you can scan the QR code on your screen in which you can apply to be a member of the live audience. Trevor is going to be joined in Birmingham at 7 o'clock next Wednesday by representatives from the government, the Conservative Party, the Liberal Democrats and Reform UK. The programme, of course, following this summer of protests over the use of hotels to house asylum seekers and unrest over the government's plans to deal with illegal immigration. Ministers say they're getting tough on the issue. Critics say there's been a total failure to grip the crisis. Here's your chance to tell us what you think. Scan that QR code on your screen if you'd like to join Trevor to have your say in Birmingham next Wednesday at 7 o'clock here on Sky News. The head of the Metropolitan Police says officers shouldn't be policing toxic culture wars. This is after the writer of Father Ted, Graham Linehan, was arrested over social media posts about transgender people. Mr Linehan was detained after getting off a flight at Heathrow. Met Commissioner Sir Mark Rowley says the ambiguity of existing legislation means that police are being put in an impossible position. Sky's political correspondent Tamara Cohen has this report.
The Irish comedy writer Graham Linehan, famous for Father Ted and The Fast Show, stepped off a flight from the US on Monday to find 5 armed officers waiting for him at Heathrow Airport. This is what happened next.
You're under arrest. I don't believe it. I'm under arrest.
He recorded that exchange, in which they tell him it's over 3 posts on X about transgender people and that he's arrested on suspicion of inciting violence. In one of the posts from April, he writes, If a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he's committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. Linehan wrote online that he was taken to hospital, where this picture was taken, and that he told police his tweet was a serious point, made with a joke and not a call to violence. The issue has angered free speech campaigners, and Keir Starmer was asked about it.
If you don't support speech you don't like, you don't support free speech.
I've been clear throughout, we must ensure the police focus on the most serious issues and the issues that matter most. And we have a long history of free speech in this country. I'm very proud of that and I will always defend it.
The Metropolitan Police Commissioner Mark Rowley said in a lengthy statement defending the officers that they had no choice. He said, "I don't believe we should be policing toxic culture wars debates, and officers are currently in an impossible position. I have offered to provide suggestions to the Home Office on where the law and policy should be clarified. If agreed," he said, "we could be ready to test new approaches quickly, within a matter of weeks." Nigel Farage made hay out of it in Washington, D.C., where he was invited to address the House Judiciary Committee.
The way the British government have gone about this, frankly, is a sledgehammer to miss the nut. And we finished up with a situation where a foreigner, somebody with an Irish passport, coming into Heathrow Airport is arrested by 5 armed police. And that could be an American executive. So whichever way you look at this is huge overreach.
He raised the case there and that of Lucy Connolly, who was jailed over a tweet she posted during last summer's riots.
At what point did we become North Korea? Well, I think the Irish comedy writer found that out 2 days ago at Heathrow Airport.
How police assess alleged crimes on social media has been under the spotlight. Now, across the political spectrum, there are calls to make clear where the lines are. Tamara Cohen, Sky News, Westminster.
Let's get more now on the big political story of the day. The pressure on the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner tonight. This is after she revealed to Sky's Electoral Dysfunction podcast that she underpaid the stamp duty on her new flat on the South Coast. Let's bring in our chief political correspondent, John Craig. John, it's been quite the day for the Deputy Prime Minister. What's the mood like in Westminster tonight?
Well, the big question all MPs are asking tonight is it credible that the reason that she's made this mistake, as she says, was that she was given duff advice by a solicitor? There's a lot of scepticism about that claim. They think it's really odd that a solicitor would have given bad advice. Then she said to a KC or a top barrister who gave her different advice. And the question there is, well, did she do that simply because she was getting a lot of flack from political opponents and some newspapers? So there are questions that she's got to answer, and questions obviously that will be put to her by the city grandee, Sir Laurie Magnus, who is an Oxford and at Eton and Oxford educated baronet, one of the great and the good of the City of London, who is the ethics advisor appointed by Rishi Sunak a few years ago, now serving Sir Keir Starmer. Now, the reaction has ranged from brutal to sympathetic. The brutal reaction has come from the likes of Priti Patel, who called her rotten Rayner, a tax evader and a freeloader. George Galloway called her a lowlife on the make, supermarket sweep he talked about. And yet there was sympathy from the likes of Sir Ed Davey, the Liberal Democrat leader, who talked about how he understood what she was talking about when she talked about her son with special needs, because Sir Ed said, "I'm a carer, my son is disabled, and your big worry is what's going to happen to those children after you've gone." So there was sympathy there. I spoke today to the leader of the TUC, that's Paul Novak, who gave a very strong defence of Angela Rayner. He said in an interview with Sky News, there's a real heavy dose of misogyny when it comes to Angela. And he said, "I wouldn't want to see her hounded out of an important role by right-wing politicians and the right-wing media, who can't handle the fact that she's a working-class woman as our Deputy Prime Minister." So a range of opinions about her story today, but big questions remain, particularly that one, that her claim that she was given bad and wrong advice by a solicitor.
John, thank you. John Craig with the latest for us this evening from Westminster. A serial rapist who faked his own death and went on the run to Spain has been convicted. James Clacker attacked 2 women that he'd met on dating apps in Scotland. As the police hunt to arrest him gathered pace, he vanished and he turned up 2 years later on the Costa del Sol. Our Scotland correspondent Conor Gillis has been investigating.
This is where a con man would come if they hoped never to be seen again. The perfect setting for a fake death, a getaway, and the beginnings of a double life. It had the look and feel of a suicide. Feeling the heat from looming sex charges, James Clacker dumped his clothes and car here and vanished. Police warned of a dangerous man, one who should not be approached, and approached he was not.
The weather in Malaga is a lot nicer than it was back home in Glasgow, currently 28 degrees Celsius.
Flying under the radar, the rapist went on the run, the Costa del Sol his bolt hole. Creating a fake identity, a fraudulent new life here in Nerja.
We have more than 30 nationalities. We are 30% of the people living here are foreign people, especially British people from the UK. This is the best place to be. No one knows you.
The perfect place then for someone to hide.
Here, I can say that we live near a paradise. If you have committed some criminals, you can live here and nobody knows you.
And disappear he did.
I was given a tip-off that led us to this apartment complex for residents on the outskirts of town. And it's interesting because we have learned that James Clacker was working here as a gardener. But the interesting fact is they don't know who James Clacker is. They know a man under the guise of Johnny Wilson.
A fitness fanatic at this gym too, forging new relationships, a new girlfriend and new friends.
Hello. Hi, is that Matt?
Yes, speaking.
Matt, hi, it's Conor Gillis here from Sky News in the UK.
Matt was one of them. The pair were close. He didn't want to be on camera.
He was really nice, actually, I have to say. He was very charming. Like I say, I became quite good friends with him. Didn't realise I was going to go out hiking with him, you know, he invited me around to his house to eat and everything. He used to send me pictures of him up a mountain, and he would always be facing away from the camera, so he'd never show his face. Yeah, I was completely shocked. I was stunned, completely shocked, you know. I just couldn't believe it. You know, just being fooled like that by someone. It wasn't just me, it fooled a lot of other people here in Spain as well.
In these parts, he was a familiar face among many, living here undetected for almost 2 years.
Do you know this man? You think he was... Police back in the UK had drawn a blank. That was until an anonymous tip-off to Sky News from holidaymakers here in the town of Nerja. They talked of meeting a man by the name of Johnny Wilson. He matched the description. There were 3 encounters over the space of almost a year. And with that, the international manhunt ended right here.
Undercover police working with British authorities pounced on their man, the same location he'd been leading yoga classes. Arrested, detained and extradited to face Scottish justice. He lured his victims after meeting them on Tinder, a dating life that ended in sexual violence.
People were stung and surprised. This happened in their community, our local community. We don't have that very much here at all, I have to say. It's a very nice, safe, good area of Spain to be in. I mean, it's nice to live here. We don't really have that very often. Well, at all. That's the first time I've heard of it, anyway.
And so Johnny Wilson was no more. Clacker back from the dead, the Spanish double life over. In a case of delayed justice, he desperately tried to dodge. Conor Gillis, Sky News, in Nerja on the Costa del Sol.
Still to come here on the UK Tonight, we'll be hearing from former Sky presenter Dermot Linehan and Olympian Sir Chris Hoy ahead of their bike ride this weekend, raising money for UK cancer charities.
app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis, up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live.
Joins us live.
All in one place, and all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
This weekend, thousands of cyclists will come together in Scotland to take part in Sir Chris Hoy's Tour de Four ride, aimed at changing perceptions around stage 4 cancer. The 6-time Olympic gold medalist founded the challenge to raise funds for UK charities after he was diagnosed with terminal prostate cancer. The ride has already surpassed its target of £1 million before the event has even got underway. Among those taking part this weekend, former Sky News presenter Dermot Linehan, who himself was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I spoke to both him and Sir Chris earlier, and I started by asking Dermot how he was doing after his chemotherapy came to an end back in July.
Oh, feeling better and better every day, you know, once the stuff clears your system and, you know, on to the next stage, or phase, I hope.
Yeah. Can you talk to us about being diagnosed last year? Because I know both of you coming out publicly is to raise awareness about prostate cancer and the importance in getting checked. And Dermot, you've been in this very studio talking to...
Too many times.
Yeah, talking to public figures like Sir Chris Hoy and the experts about prostate cancer and the importance of checking. But there's a difference between hearing a message and really listening, right?
There is indeed, yeah. You know, and I would have heard it many, many, many times, you know, about men of a certain age, men who are in certain categories, if there's a history of prostate cancer in their family. As I say, if they hit a certain age, if they're in a certain ethnic group, then you should go and get checked. And I always had that in my mind. But I always felt fine. I'm sure Chris will say the same. You know, I felt fine. I thought, yeah, you know, other things come along, life, work, family, dinners, whatever. And then, lo and behold, before I got checked, I was, you know, properly checked because I was ill and taken into hospital.
And like you said, you were fit and healthy. I mean, I used to see you click-clacking on your cleats and your Lycra through the newsroom. You were cycling every day. You were really fit and healthy and active. And Sir Chris Hoy, you know, I remember the public reaction to your diagnosis was, oh, my word, if this can happen to Sir Chris Hoy, the peak of physical fitness, this could literally happen to any one of us.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a history of prostate cancer in my family. So my grandpa had it, my dad's had it. So I was aware of it. But the general advice is once you hit 50, that's the benchmark, and be aware of symptoms. And just keep an eye out. It's a slow-moving disease. It's for older men, and that's not the case. You know, that can be for many people, but for me, there was no symptoms. There were no warnings. I was 47 when I was diagnosed, and by that point, it had spread into my bones. So by that stage, it's incurable. So the message has to be that first of all, as Dermot has already said, you need to know your risk. So you can go on to you can Google prostate cancer risk checker. There's 3 questions in there about your ethnicity, family history, and your age. And from that, you can be high, medium, or low risk. If you're high risk, you go to your GP and you ask them for a blood test. And it's that simple.
So, Chris, when you heard about Dermot's diagnosis, I mean, many people will remember you coming out publicly talking about your diagnosis. And, you know, I remember seeing you talking about it on social media, Dermot, you know, both of you wanting to come out to, you know, doing what we're doing right now, raising awareness. So, Chris, when you saw Dermot on his statement on social media, you wanted to pick up the phone.
Yes, well, it was through a mutual friend got in touch and told me about Dermot's bad news. And so, yeah, I felt compelled to get in touch. And because I'd already been through that initial shock and horror of the diagnosis, I'd been through chemotherapy. And so I was kind of a few months ahead of him, if you like, or maybe even a year ahead. So I had some practical, hopefully some practical advice to pass on to him and things that I'd learned, the things that some doctors hadn't told me about at the time. And I think the biggest thing that I had to do after the diagnosis was to find my own hope, because all hope is taken away in the space of one sentence. you're given this news and it drops like a bombshell, and you have to then go away and find a way to lick your wounds, to come back from it, and to recognise that you have to find your own hope, and you have to kind of forge a way ahead. And therefore, I've spoken to a couple of people that were in a similar situation, and their advice helped me. So I guess it's like passing on the baton of information and letting people know, and letting Dermot know at the time, but letting other people know now that you're not alone. And I think you feel so alone in those moments when you're given the news, but actually, sadly, it's very common. So yeah, it's part of the reason why we've set up our charity ride, the Tour de Four, which is taking place this Sunday in Glasgow. It's raising money for cancer charities across the UK. We've raised £1.4 million already. The target was 1 million, and we've already hit 1.4. But the purpose of it wasn't just to raise money; it was to change perceptions of stage 4 cancer and to let people see that actually, yes, it's not the news you would ever want to receive, but together as a community, we can show that you can still have a fulfilling and a wonderful life, even in the midst of this terrible diagnosis.
What Chris offered me then and throughout this journey, if we're going to call it that, was first of all that practical advice. It really, really helps, but also, more broadly for anyone who's, the vast majority of people who aren't in this situation, is that kind of mental space you have to develop, you have to inhabit, you have to nurture it, and you have to keep it going. It's all in his book. I'm going to pick it up now. All That Matters. See, I remembered the name. I'll take my commission later, Chris. It's just a wonderful from the heart. And as I say, I treated it as a manual when I was going through my own chemotherapy. I thought, OK, so this might happen. The professionals tell you that, but I thought, this happened to Chris. I wonder if it'll happen to me. Chris, gave me advice about when the old cold cap to keep your barnet, all kinds of things. Yeah. So it's a great read.
Well, Chris, we were talking about the fact that, we're talking about screening, and I know, Dermot, you've spoken about the fact that, you were fit and healthy. You also went for regular checkups and tests on your health as part of looking after your well-being. You were on it, so to speak. But this slipped through the net, and there is no formal screening programme for prostate cancer, despite it being the second most common cause of cancer death in males here in the UK, accounting for 14% of all cancer deaths in men. You have to ask, as you said, Dermot, rather than be offered like other cancers. This needs to change, doesn't it, Sir Chris Hoy?
Yes, it absolutely does. And I've already had a meeting with the Scottish Government, with John Swinney, to see what we can do in Scotland, and I'm hoping that there will be a similar conversation with the British government. It just seems like we have to do something about it, even if it's a simple matter of sending out a text message or a letter to every man when they hit their 45th birthday to say, assess your risk, know your risk, speak to your GP about this, get some advice, because I think it's not a lack of awareness about prostate cancer. It's just a feeling that, well, it won't happen to me, or if it does, it's for decades down the line. It's in the future, and I'll keep an eye out for it. And it's something which is for tomorrow. It's not for today. But actually, you can have peace of mind by getting checked, and an annual check. Get a blood test once a year to keep an eye on it, and then it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be getting that kind of conversation with your doctor that I had and that Dermot's had.
Dermot, last time you were in the studio, you threw your scripts in the air and you were out of here. But I feel like we should give you the final sign-off from this interview because, again, this is such a personal issue. And, like so many people do, they'll be watching this tonight, hearing this message. But what do you want to tell them about actually listening and acting on what you and Chris are saying?
Well, specifically when it comes to prostate, it can happen to any man. All I can do is endorse what Chris is saying, what so many others are saying, is that why do we not have some form of proactive PSA testing? All I can guess is that it's about a cost-benefit analysis. Of course, cost comes into things that, because of the PSA tests, too many men perhaps may go into treatment that don't require it, and there is that factor involved in prostate cancer. But look at the benefit to catching someone like Chris or me earlier on
Yeah.
in the diagnosis. I mean, you know, these drugs, these treatments, they cost a lot. You know, we have to look at that. We have to be aware, and that, I'm told, is perhaps one of the main reasons why the NHS
so Chris
doesn't
Hoy is
offer
taking
that.
on the Scottish Government. I know your contacts book, Dermot. You could pick up the phone and sort of, you know, you made the pitch there.
Listen, I know that the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, is onto it, and, you know, there are you know, far wiser people than us looking into that very thing, the cost benefits that, you know, have to be examined by any government that's a bit strapped for cash. And Wes Streeting says that he will be led by the evidence. So all I say is, let's get the evidence to Wes Streeting. Let's do this. It is achievable. And there are other tests coming down the line, which hopefully will get cheaper, which are more accurate.
Well, Dermot, it's been great to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. It's a Chris Hoy as well. Good luck on Sunday. Dermot, I know you're heading up there
He's
on
toast.
Saturday to
Yeah, come on. You know, who is he?
I mean, look
Have you
at
ever
this.
ridden a bike?
The rivalry is on. Good luck with the Tour de France this weekend. Thanks so much. Dermot telling me after that interview that he still finds it quite strange when Sir Chris Hoy says to him, you know, fit and healthy people like us. And Dermot's like, look at all your gold medals. But, you know, Dermot, you're fit and doing well, and we wish you the best of luck on Sunday, the Tour de France, the inaugural Tour de France happening up in Glasgow. Good luck to everybody taking part. Right, let's bring you some breaking news. That developing situation in Lisbon and the funicular derailment. We are now hearing that 15 people have been killed in that crash in Lisbon. We can go straight to our Europe correspondent, Siobhan Robbins. Siobhan.
Yes, this update saying 15 people have died and 15 people at least have been injured is coming from our partners in Portugal, SIC Noticias. That's the latest that they've been told on the scene there. And we understand that the mayor is on the scene, as well as local officials. Now, just to remind people of what happened, we believe it was just after 6 o'clock this evening, so right in the middle of commuting time, when the Gloria funicular, one of the cars, appears to have derailed. Now, the information that's being reported is that possibly one of the wires became loose, but when you look at the pictures, you can see that the bottom car seems undamaged, but the top car is really extremely damaged. The roof, the sides are all broken, and pictures that we saw showed emergency services working hard to try and get people out of those cable cars. Now, the cable cars are old. They were created in the 1800s and have been running up and down that hill, which brings people basically from downtown Lisbon up into the higher hill bits, which are vibrant nightlife areas, so popular with both tourists and also with commuters. We don't know yet the nationalities of those who've died and been injured, but we do know that this is an extremely serious incident, which is still being attended to by emergency services on the scene there in Lisbon.
The light in Lisbon, emergency services still on the scene, not quite as busy as it was some time ago. So the feeling is that all of those inside that funicular car have now been taken out and the investigation can begin. Is there any word as to when we will hear from the authorities in Lisbon, Siobhan?
Well, we know that the president has been informed. He's sent his condolences. We know that the mayor is on the scene, the police are on the scene, various emergency services. Of course, as with all of these tragedies, when they happen, the first priority is securing the area and getting those who are trapped and injured out. So that's what they've been doing for the last few hours. And as you said, we've seen the emergency services seem to have now removed everyone or have stopped pulling people from those cars. They can take around over 40 people. So they've obviously been focusing on doing that. They'll now be securing the scene. And then, of course, the investigations will be ongoing as to what exactly happened.
Siobhan, thank you. Siobhan Robbins keeping across that developing situation in Lisbon. The scenes there you can see of that funicular crash. 15 people confirmed dead now after that crash on the Gloria funicular. Many people who have been to Lisbon will be familiar with that iconic tourist attraction in the city. As soon as there is an update from authorities there in Lisbon, we'll bring it to you here on Sky News. The mother of murdered teenager Brianna Jai is calling for classrooms to ban mobile phones during school hours. Esther Jai says the change will protect children and improve their behaviour. Shingi Marike has more.
The last 2 years of Brianna's life were filled with suffering. She wanted to be on social media, she just wanted to live online.
This is Brianna Jai, a teenager who was stabbed to death in Warrington by two 15-year-olds. Her killers had spent time on the dark web. At the same time, she was also trapped in an online world of her own. Her mother Esther remembers the impact of a phone addiction on her education.
All of the arguments that me and Brianna had was down to her phone use, but even in school she had issues, and I used to have phone calls from the school saying that Brianna wouldn't put her phone away. It was so difficult as a parent because I felt in one way that I was failing, and then in another way, and this is really difficult for me to speak about, but I was so so annoyed with Brianna because I thought, why can't you just go to school, get your head down and just focus on your education, because this is important. And only now, after 2 years of being immersed in this world, do I realise that actually it's so much harder than that.
Driven by her own experience as a parent and a desire to create change, she has now begun a campaign to see phones banned in schools.
We need a statutory ban. At the moment, it's a postcode lottery if a child has got the right to focus in education and be safeguarded properly in school. The guidance just does not go far enough. Even as an adult, we know how much the screen is actually pulls our attention. And if somebody said to me, keep your phone in your pocket, but don't look at it for 8 hours, I would struggle with that. And I just think, by doing this, we're setting children up to fail.
At Brianna's old school, the head teacher introduced a ban last September, where students now use lockable pouches.
They just have the phone switched off and in the pouch ready. And as they walk past the member of staff, they just show it to them, push it down into the pouch, and then they lock it. And then at the end of the day, we have lots of devices around the school where they're able to just walk past and they just click it against there and then it opens. So they have it on the way to school, they have it on the way home from school, but they can't access it at all during the school day. It's had a huge impact, and it's actually impacted all areas of school life and in ways that we didn't foresee. About 90% of our safeguarding incidents previously were related to phones and social media, and then for this year just gone, since the phone ban, it's just 10% of the safeguarding incidents were connected to social media and to phones. They're not using their phones as much at home and in their social time because they've realised they can live, they can live and function without their phones.
But what do young people who have grown up in both the classroom and the digital age think? In Warrington Town Centre, the opinions on whether a phone ban would make any difference were mixed.
Some kids might need to limit it because, focus can be affected, especially if you're on your phone texting people. It, affects your focus and you don't listen in class,
I don't think it would have made a difference at all. I mean, things would have been the exact same. People would have still found ways to distract themselves. And bullying would have been the same because you can use your phones after school. So I don't think it would make that big of a difference at all.
I understand why they'd want to be banned, for other student safety and stuff, but also that's also the same kind. The reason you would take them away is also the reason they should be there.
For Esther, who will deliver a letter to 10 Downing Street next month, it's not just about Brianna's legacy, but her hopes for helping wider society. Shingi Marike, Sky News, Warrington.
Now, my next guest on the programme tonight was on the trip of a lifetime, riding round the world on his motorbike. Yogesh Elekari had ridden more than 15,000 miles through 17 countries that included China, Russia, Nepal and Uzbekistan. But when he got here to the UK, his trip came to an abrupt halt. In Nottingham, in the East Midlands, his bike and all his possessions were stolen in broad daylight. He's now asking for help to track it down. It happened in Woollerton Park. Yogesh, first of all, I'm so sorry about what has happened to you here in the UK. You've been through Russia, Uzbekistan, you've been through some, pretty tough environments, and you come to the East Midlands and this happens. So first of all, I'm really sorry for that.
Yes, all right.
It was captured on camera by some people who saw it happening, because it happened in broad daylight. It was quite busy. What was your reaction?
I just completely broke down. I couldn't believe that my bike got stolen. I assumed that, okay, somebody was moving here for the bike, car parking, or, yeah, I just, okay, looking here, where, yeah, my bike was built there. And two ladies come to me and they show me the video. See, this guy is this thing with, and I cannot see this video. There's somebody touched my bike. Bike is not this machine, it's my emotions. And somebody's breaking and the hammering to the lock. Just my heartbeat just pumping up. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna die here. I tried to control my emotions and looking for them. I asked this guy which direction they moved in. They said this way, and I running over there with the riding attire and helmet in hand, and immediately I called the police that I need help, I need help. Hey, this is goosebumps, that's my emotions. And I got completely broke down in this parking lot.
Well, this isn't just a bike. This has been your home for 118 days, because you were less than halfway through this round-the-world trip.
Yes, it's my home.
All your possessions on board as well. What's the plan now?
Now I'm completely depend on the UK police. Because I'm hopeful. I have hopes that the UK police is the strongest police in the world, and everybody knows about the UK police, and they have technology, they have equipment, they have resources, and they have force also, so they can recover my bike. It's a small bike, they can easily recover it. I just request them, just give back me my bike and just support me to further my journey. And I know they can do it. They are strongest one. I trust, I believe, and that's the only plan I have. I don't have any other plan.
There is no plan B. I mean, you know, you look at that video footage and the bike riding off into the distance. Like, I really feel for you. You've been through so much on that bike already. You know, like I said, 118 days, hundreds of thousands of miles. Are you also hopeful that people watching tonight may well know who's taken that bike, or even those people who have ridden off on it, who took it, will be watching tonight and would just give it back? I mean, it won't mean that much to them. It means the world to you.
Yeah, I just request them, just give me bike back. I request you. I will pay you. My friends are gathering money. They are just creating fun for me. And give me my hard disks back. I will buy it. If you want to sell it, just sell everything to me. I request to all these thefts, because it's not a materialistic thing. It's not just a machine or bike or boxes. It's my life, it's my emotions, it's my home, because I planned for 4 years to complete all these things. And I cannot imagine that I just can leave everything and go back to the home. I cannot imagine. I just broken down. I can just die.
Oh, well, listen, I really hope you get to complete your challenge. Africa was the next stage, is that right?
Yes, but it's not.
You can't even think about that yet. You need to find the bike, right?
Yes. And Africa is not a challenge. Now I realize that UK is the challenge. The real challenge is the UK, not the Africa. Now I realized. But I was thinking that Africa is the challenge.
That's really interesting. Of all the plans you made and all the countries you plotted out on the map, your route, you didn't expect the UK to be the problem, and it has proved the problem.
UK is the strongest country, it's a reputed country in the world. Every person knows about London on the planet. 8 billion people are living in this planet, and everybody knows about the London.
Well, do you know what, Yogesh? I really want to restore your faith in the UK.
Yeah,
because, like I said,
I blindly trust on the UK police. They will recover. They will give me my back, and just they push me to the Africa, not the home. If they said that we cannot recover, go back to your home, I will first break the trust on the UK police, and then I lost everything. But first I will lost the trust. Last 30 years, I was from the childhood. I was just listening that UK police, Scotland police, and that's the trust, and that was the impression in my mind.
Well, look, you put the pressure on the police tonight, and listen, you put out that appeal. If anyone knows where Yogesh's bike is, perhaps you took the bike, just give it back, because it means so much to Yogesh, as he's just said. You're roaming wheels on social media, is that right? If people want to get in touch with you, if they've got any information, and of course get in touch with the police as well. Yogesh, best of luck. We'll follow your progress, and I really hope you
thank you very much.
Get back on the bike and get yourself
Hopefully
to
I will
Africa.
get my bike back, and I'll head into Africa, and that's the only I have planned.
That's the only picture we want to see next of that bike riding off is with you on it, and we wish you the best of luck. Thank you for coming in to talk to us. Thank you. As has come here on the programme tonight, a record-breaking Premier League transfer window. We know all about that, don't we? It slammed shut earlier this week. Find out which club spent the most ever and who received the most money as well.
People that pod together, they have a little hive brain going on.
They've not had a good week.
I've had a good week. There's a teaser there, a teaser.
OK, nothing to see here. Drama over.
Full stop.
Anyway, we'll get to that.
She will be mortified.
She's the first female chancellor. I popped upstairs, made myself a cheese sandwich, and now I'm with you.
Analyse has come dressed in the magenta of electoral dysfunction. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
All alcohol products, not just wine, will have labels warning of liver disease and the link to fatal cancers.
Is it crazy? It's an industry worth around €14 billion a year. That's why Italy sees this Irish plan as such a threat. It's always instructive and occasionally entertaining to hear what Donald Trump has to say on the issue of Brexit.
She's got her own way of doing it, that's okay.
The job takes me to every corner of this island.
The rioting stemmed from a horrific daytime stabbing attack at a primary school in the city centre.
The scale of the rioting and the destruction it caused is pretty much unprecedented here in Dublin. Jerry, any comment on the judge's decisions? Do you feel vindicated, Jerry? This is the end, the somewhat chaotic end, of a 52-day trial.
Micheál Martin could be set to head back to government with the Taoiseach Simon Harris.
Are you confident that you can now return as Taoiseach?
I'm cautiously optimistic and excited.
A mystery press conference hastily called. Leo Varadkar strode out and didn't disappoint.
I am resigning as President and Leader of Fine Gael effective today.
The people here sometimes feel they're somewhat neglected by the Irish government, to the extent that this place is sometimes known as the Forgotten County.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks, but none have ever been found.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland. Sky News, get the full story first.
Hello, welcome back. Dave Fulton has all your sports news now.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
The club made a great pitch to me, that they wanted me. They gave me a 4-year contract. All the stops were out. They made me feel really welcome.
We arrived at the airport there in Madrid, and there were 30, 40, 50 journalists, cameras, and we thought, oh, they come for this movie star, you know. Suddenly we see, Jesus Christ, Jimmy, it's for you.
It's always difficult losing a great player. Jimmy, for me, was always a world-class striker. Probably not talked about as much, I don't think, as to some of the other great strikers, but I was fortunate enough to play with him.
We obviously made a very good profit on him. If you just take the business transaction, not the football emotion, the transaction was a good deal because we bought him for 2 and we sold him for £12 million.
In 2 years, got 6 times their money. I was not a big earner at the time at the club. So for them, it was a big gain.
He's settling into his new surrounds, the player renamed Judas Floyd Money in the Bank when he was drummed out of Ellen Road. But stories of excessive demands were fictional, according to Atletico's new signing.
I was supposed to stay there. I was supposed to sign a new contract and feel happy. If they can ask 12 million for a player, the rest is all clear.
Were you asking to be the most highly paid player in the Premiership, as we're led to believe?
No, don't believe the figures at all. Don't believe the figures at all.
You didn't want £40,000 a week? Would have been nice, but
Is that what you were demanding?
That's not what I asked.
Reading the text last night, that was nothing about money from his agent. Well, Jesus.
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Quick look at the weather now, and unsettled weather continuing into next week, although Friday and Saturday is going to be dry for most of us. Before then, mainly dry for this evening, with showers becoming largely confined to western coastal areas and more general rain in the northeast becoming restricted to the Northern Isles. That rain will clear overnight, leaving most places dry, but there'll be further showers in the south and west. That's all from the UK tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night at 8. Up next, it's The World with Yalda Hakim.